and welcome to the Cancer Journey podcast. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sherry Ann.
So we're going to start with Pesh. So our Pesh check-in, and I will go first. Okay. Physically, I'm a 7.5. Emotionally, I am an 8. Spiritually, I'm a 7.75, and hope is 8.75, and my word is bridge.
Physically, I am 8.6. Emotionally, 8.7. Spirit, 9. Hope, 9.5. And my word is anticipation.
Well, that's a juicy word. I won't ask more, but so Sherry Ann.
So, yeah, I was just noting that I was reading something, and then this quote came by, and it was Maslow, as in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, came by, and it said, a peak experience, a transcendent moment of joy. And I went, oh. What caught my eye is because we use a peak experience, not the peak experience, a peak experience as part of a tool that we do. So,
read the full quote because we don't have any context right now. So let's just restart.
Okay. Okay.
Because you were tripping over your words anyway. So
yes, I was.
So we can get clarity. You don't have to give us all the information. Just like slowly build into it. Okay. Deep breath.
So I came across this quote by Maslow, and it said, a peak experience, a transcendent moment of joy. And it really caught my eye because we use peak experience in one of the tools that we do. But I've never thought of it as just this moment of joy, which, of course, when I saw it, it was like, yeah, it totally is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that so for those of you who don't know who Maslow is a psychologist that created the hierarchy of needs. So I think there are 5 or 6 different levels within there that the impact of having those is feeling grounded and I know the top one is self-actualization, so I don't know all the different levels of it personally, but how that relates to our curriculum is that the peak experience that we do, and it's an exercise we do with our coaches. We have our coaches do it with their clients as they're going through their cancer journeys, is what does that peak experience feel like? And peak experience being what do each of your 5 senses notice? And what does that really feel like in your body, as well as like what does it feel like externally? Where are you? What are you feeling? And getting as detailed as possible so that we can really embody that. And so I can really see, knowing what that peak experience exercise is for us, how having this transcendent moment of joy, really the peak experience is, when are you going to feel most joyful? What do you envision this joyful moment for yourself? And it's not about how we're getting to it necessarily. It's not about how are you creating it. It's not about the how. It is simply about the what. And so I agree that that's a big aha, to have the experience of joy and seeing it through the lens of what is joy changes how you perceive your peak experience.
Yes. Yes. And it very much is the what. And when we're using peak experience, And that transcendent moment of joy, it's who are you? And so the reason why I really liked it and what you're saying is that we don't take the time to maybe really appreciate that moment.
Hmm.
And so it made me pause and stop because it isn't just a peak experience, which is pretty wow by itself, but there's that joy. And I know you said that, and I just kind of want to slow it down and underscore an exclamation point joy. It's like, ah, these moments happen constantly,
Hmm.
but I don't think that we have the lens to see it in that way. It's like, oh, wow, that really worked out great. Oh, that was serendipitous. Or I must have been at the right place at the right time. And it's just this fleeting moment instead of this, ooh.
Yeah.
The other word that I want to underscore is transcendent. It's
Hmm.
like it takes us out of the ordinary and the everyday. That's what I mean when I say ordinary, to this moment of wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that transcendence is there's so much on the other side of joy, and I think so it's interesting is that what the word that came up for me when we think about our peak experience and even that transcendence that comes from joy is dreaming, right? And so dreaming
Mm,
to me elicits this understanding that we want that joy. Allowing yourself to dream is to allow yourself to wonder what joy feels like. It's almost like the um dreams like not the how, but I think it comes first. I mean, it can exist, during and after too, but I think dreaming about what that joy is, especially choosing a peak experience for yourself, the dreaming comes first. We don't really dream about things that are going to make us sad or whatever else is not joy. We dream because we want to experience joy. So I think getting to that place can even be hard, that dreaming place, but the transcendence to me says trust. Trust that on the
mm,
other side of joy and getting to joy, there's the transformation, there's a change, there's a shift that comes out of it. Oh, that comes out of it. Um, and it's more than just, okay, moment of joy, and let's keep on going, right? It's not just a blip in the cycle. It is so much more than that. And we underestimate the power that joy can have and that those experiences can have on our lives because often we don't have the resources to experience any given situation until it comes up. And then when it does come up, we want to be able to be open to what the possibilities come out of it because you can't just anticipate what those are going to be. But what you can anticipate with big moments like that is that there will be a shift.
yes. And whew, you said a mouthful. So I'm gonna kind of dance here because what I kept thinking about was we use it in our curriculum because it is hard on a cancer journey to dream. We're not dreaming about, and when I think of dream, it's like a big, what do I want
Mhm.
versus the, I want to be done with this journey. I want to be normal again. I want to go back to where I was. I want this particular journey to be done.
Mhm.
It's not big enough, right?
Mhm.
I mean, there's no moment of transcendent joy. It is like, I just want this over. And when we dream, which we do encourage, and I know we've gotten pushback on that in some of the situations that we bring it up. It's almost like when people say, "Oh, there's a gift in cancer."
Mhm.
I do still subscribe to that one, but let me come back to dreaming. It's like I can dream even though I don't necessarily trust that I'm going to have this big future.
Yeah.
And that dream is the opening. It is what you were saying. You have to be open, but it's also allowing ourselves to want more than what's right here,
Mhm.
to want more than just being done with this particular cancer journey, but allowing ourselves to like not run away from it, incorporate it, because there's
Mhm.
stuff that's going to happen, and there is learning. Darn it, there is learning along the way, but there's something. I truly believe this with every cell in my body, that there's something better on the
Yeah,
other end.
yeah. And it's not so black and white, right? It's not like it's gonna all be good and it's not gonna all be bad. Transcendence doesn't mean it's necessarily all going to feel lovely and positive, but it'll move you in a direction that you need to go. There is always something that you can glean from a given situation, and you get to choose the perspective you want to stand in when it comes to that. Um, yeah, dreaming is believing. Dreaming is believing that there is something bigger and better out there for you, than what is here now, and you get to make that choice of what it is. Um, I feel like messages tend to be neutral, even though they may feel like they sway you in a direction of negativity. Almost like it's like, okay, so I have this diagnosis. What is that telling me? What's that message telling me? It's like we can choose to see it. Yes, it's going to be a hard struggle, and there can be a lot of ups and downs in the um and just I mean, there will be downs. There will be downs throughout a treatment. But there are also positive moments and things you can glean and lessons that you can choose to learn and explore. And I'm not saying that that's easy by any means.
No,
The journey.
but I do think that, and I'm there is a slowing down just automatically in a cancer journey, whether that's because you're going through treatment or as a caregiver, you're walking alongside, and other things kind of are not as important as being present with your beloved or your patient. And it's in those long spaces that you get to glean what's here. That
Hmm.
would be a blip in a normal everyday. Okay, I'm task oriented. I'm running through life.
Hmm.
It is this slowing down. And I know that there's some people who say, I can't dream. I got to be focused. I got to get to where I need to get to. I got to follow the protocol. That's fine. But there is, what do I want to say here? It just flew out of my head. There is this slowing down to see not the nuances, but there's more that's happening when we slow down.
Hmm.
And oh, what I was going to say is people say, I can't dream. But if we remember when we were little kids, and every little kid has ever daydreamed, and whether that was kind of knocked out of them because someone said, don't waste your time on daydreaming, there's so much value in that.
Hmm.
Allowing yourself to imagine more and beyond. And I think that's what makes the human person so valuable and so important, and be that non-robot that AI can freak us out about. But there is nothing that can replace dreaming.
Hmm. Yeah. I think too, with the slowing down, big on pause. We are so big on pause here. And another way to view that, the like what versus the how, is the big picture versus the small details.
Hmm.
Like we need to give time to see what we really want. It's hard to discover what you really truly want and what your end goal is. When you don't take a moment to even just think about it. Like, what do I really want here? And like you said, like obviously, I want dream to be over. I want this to be over. That's what you don't want. So glad that we're clear on what you don't want. We want to get clear on what you do want, and getting clear on what
Right.
you want and what that feels like. Um, even in the most detailed way, like what does that feel like, and knowing what that is makes it more possible for you
Hmm.
to even just state like, I want to feel free, or I want to feel like I can go on a long walk with the wind in my face and just to feel light, just to have something like that. Okay, Now you know what you want to feel like. The steps to getting there will get clearer and clearer. Maybe right now, like, that is not possible for you. Maybe, like, you need to stay inside for whatever given reason. Maybe it's COVID out, right? Like, something like that situation. But to have the knowledge of what you want, you can begin to start thinking about it. It's like you plant that own bug in your brain. So then, like, when those opportunities come up, you can start taking advantage of those opportunities instead of letting those moments pass you by because you think that that's not what you should be doing in this moment. Or yeah, shoot's a good word for that. And immediately I'm going to negative ego. Oh my God, there's so many CJI-isms coming up for me now um, that come in the big process. And I think something also that we explore that maybe we haven't talked about much here in our podcast, but dreaming is the first step. We're not saying that you have to dream, you have to come up with a dream and our peak experience, and you have to have that. But what that gives you is something to play with. And it gives you something to have, like, an options wheel or a perspective wheel, which are two tools that we use to get clear on what that is. So you don't have to figure that out alone. We always recommend having a coach or someone who's there to guide you to reflect back what you're saying, because the minute things leave our mouths, very rarely do we know exactly what we said. I am so guilty of that all the time, because when someone says, "Wait, what did you say?" I'm like, it's gone. I have no idea. I have no idea what I just said. So, like, and that's normal conversation. When you're talking about things that matter, with people that really care about you, they hear every word, every the organization of the sentence that you put it in, because we're not thinking about that, but the way we put those words together has impact. And it's maybe something we've been cycling in our own heads, and we can say it maybe in a nicer way to ourselves. Often we're a lot meaner to ourselves than we are to other people. And so even to write it down and see, like, wow, I said that really strongly, maybe a way that I don't want to be saying that to myself. We get to make that change, and that those changes help us get to where we want to go, and feel what that peak experience, that dream could possibly be. But we have to see what energies we're putting into it and what perspectives we're putting into that journey to get to that goal, dream, peak experience to help us get there, because a lot of times we're in our own way.
Yes, 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 yes. And what sparked for me while you were talking is that um, dreaming all by itself can be a peak experience. And sometimes we dream about, something that happened in the past, and that would be a peak experience, right? That moment of joy. And when we're allowing ourselves to dream, okay, yes, the negative ego can kind of knock it out because it's like, you couldn't possibly. But when we just allow ourselves to play with it, and I just love the whole word play, because if we can't see it in our mind's eye and play with it there, and that's where it starts, right? That is that genesis of the dream, of that transcendent peak moment. It starts right there.
Mhm.
It's not when it is actualized necessarily. There, it had to start somewhere, and that's when you were talking about the openness and just being aware of what's happening and allowing yourself to go there. This something's happening.
Yeah.
I'm noticing something, and even though I'm on a cancer journey and I may feel like crap, or it may be not that great a day, there could be a spark, and you said that the spark where here's something growing and it's bigger than just this. And
Yeah.
I can step into it or take the next step with it. But it's got to be something that I've allowed myself to dream, daydream, imagine,
Mhm.
down to the details or even just the big wide swath. But it's more than the the pain maybe that's here. It's like
Yep.
rising and letting yourself lift from that and having a vision. And you know how visions are always up and out. It's like, how's that? We're such advocates of this.
I like to say we're just such nerds for our own work, which is really, it's true. so fun. And because it's like something like a simple quote can really spark us to talk about how not only does that it align with our curriculum, but it aligns in the way that we see it impacting people's lives, even our own lives. You know, we're not taking this stuff and just giving it to people and being like, good luck with stuff that we do embody and we do dream. And I think because I'm playing with this, right? And I'm like, so a transcendent moment of joy. I think a really good way to enter into that because just going, oh, dream, so hard. You get just like go dream about it. That is really, really difficult, and very specific words can trigger people. I know the word dream, like we said, can be very triggering, especially with people going through a cancer experience. It's like, I can't dream, I don't want to, and they're not in that place to play with what dream can be, right? It's like there's such a fixed um perspective on what that is, and so there's already a trigger away from it. So maybe like an inviting prompt into it is, what does joy feel like to you?
That's exactly where I wanted to go because it is a function.
Hmm.
So here we have joy, and I just remembered our live event, and we posed that question, what do you want, out there really broadly, and someone said, I want joy.
Hmm.
That's great. Just even having that knowing, I want joy. Now, what does joy mean to you? What does joy look like?
Hmm.
What is joyous? I mean, there's so many questions for the exploration of that so that, guess what? Dreaming's happening. We're just allowing it to emerge and yeah, that feels so good.
Yeah, like for example, joy to me can feel like safety.
Mm,
I don't have to know what that looks like. I don't have to define every single bit of it, right? Like, I mean, any bit of safety feels good, right? So, like, financial, like, in my home, in my relationships, like, safety can look very differently amongst all those things, but I don't have to define that right now. I can just define what safety feels like to me. So, like, what safety really feels like to me is that I then have this stable base to now do all of this other stuff, like fun stuff to do, or things that I want to explore. But the safety here allows me to do that. It gives me that freedom because there's something I can stand on instead of feeling like I'm floating and flitting from thing to thing. Um, and to me, I think that's what joy feels like. It's allowed me to have that creativity but also the stability, something to always come back to. Again, I don't have to know what that literally looks like. I can play around with different ideas of what that can feel and look like on many different levels and many different categories in my life. But even if that's just a small dream that I have, I dream to feel stable enough that I get to play around with all of these things in my time. That's enough for me right now. That's enough to
hmm.
start laying down bricks here and there. Like, oh, you know what? This will make me feel more stable. Or even make those decisions. Like, do I go on a trip this weekend or do I like stay home and let my energy recuperate? Which one's going to make me feel more stable? You know, like what's in lieu of that dream? And so I'm able to like make that decision to like, I'm going to hold my reserves for now so that I'm able to X, Y, and Z.
Right.
I mean, that's such a small example, but that's the one that really it lights me up right now, and it like I can feel what it feels like to be stable and still have this creative freedom that I want.
Right. That joy. And when you asked the question and you were saying what you said, I'm like, wow, what does joy mean to me? And it's different.
Hmm.
Yours is security and safety. And for me, joy is exuberant and delightful. And what really came up for me is joy is adventure
Hmm.
and freedom. So while yours is really solid, mine's kind of like, woo, what's out there?
Hmm.
I safety and security didn't come to mind. That's just so fascinating that one word can conjure up so many different meanings for so many different people. And it does matter
Hmm.
because my transcendent moment of joy is going to be like new
Yeah.
adventure.
Yeah.
freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even like in that creative freedom that I'm looking for, it's like, but I already have things that I know I want to do that give me creative freedom, but they are coming from a basis that I already have somewhere. So I just need that stability to do that. But it's so nice because it's like it branches off each other. And that to me is the transcendence that we're talking about. Like it'll transcend me to do all these different things. I don't know what they'll look like. I don't even know if the thing I'm thinking that it'll allow me to do is the thing that'll happen because I want to continue to have openness about what that transcendence can look like and openness around
Yes.
that timeline.
Yes. And the same with me. I have no idea what the adventure is going to be, but when I start noticing that starting to show up, just like the openness that you have when you start in your creative journey, it's like, oh, here we go. I mean, it is that moment where you start feeling that joy. So it
Hmm.
can happen at any point.
Yeah.
Whew, big topic.
Big topic. From one small quote, I mean, there's just so much that I mean, it really expands. Like, if I can give my word first,
Okay.
my word is expansiveness. I literally feel expansive knowing that having a transcendent moment of joy or holding a peak experience and what that feels like the possibilities are so wide open to me and they're wide open in a way that like I feel like I'll be able to experience some fulfilling moments and the clarity around what my peak experience and like what joy feels like to me means that I'm more tuned into the opportunities that come up that can absolutely help me build to that peak experience. So, like, the road of the house seemed even completely unclear before. I mean, I didn't have a peak experience defined or defined what joy is to me before this moment. But now that I have and I know what that looks like, even the how gets a little more clear, right? Like I know
Mm-hmm.
what the energy of those opportunities look like. And so when I am presented with one, no matter how big or small, I get to make the choice to
Mm-hmm.
move forward with it or not.
And you're noticing. It's a great takeaway.
Yeah.
My takeaway is that it doesn't, it's first off, it's a peak experience, not the peak experience. And
Hmm.
so it could be anything at any moment that begins to spark, which is really exciting. And I could feel myself getting like bouncy because I don't have to plan it. I don't have to plan for it. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to be responsible, like, oh, I want to have a peak experience now. It's more of the expectation that it's going to happen.
Hmm.
And in that expectation, my hope meter goes up. It's like, I know that that peak experience is going to come. I know I'm going to have a transcendent moment of joy. My job is just to be aware and to notice it and to
Hmm.
go with it and choose yes or no what I want. It's back to what do I want? So my word is choosing.
Well, thank you for joining it's always such a ride when we start with the topic and we just let it come out and we see, really how it resonates with us, and how everything flows together and feeds one another. I mean, I think that a lot of our curriculum, like we said, we're nerds for it. So there are things all the time that just like pop up for us. So thank you for listening and giving us a place to really share the things that matter to us. And we release new episodes every Friday. So we'll see you next week.
Right. Have a lovely rest of your day. And I just want to remind everyone remember, you're more powerful than you realize. Bye for now.